Hi guys, welcome to Aloha Online. My name is Jordy and I have the privilege of running youth here at Aloha. What a time we're in. We get to do online service and we're getting pretty dang good at it. With this whole thing going around, Kai's home more, so we get to cook together and do our at-home workouts. And speaking of at-home workouts, I'm going to be running a live workout through Aloha, so tune in for the date and time for that. And you're going to just use furniture items, so there's really no excuse to not tune in. Someone put a coffee table right here, so here we go. You're going to squat and you're going to press, and it's going to be really fun. So tune in to watch that and to do that. So our church is doing a church-wide reading of Philippians. You guys can tune into that on Facebook or email or our Instagram. We have 1 week left of that, and it's going to be really awesome. We've been going through it and just seeing how Paul is finding joy as he's under house arrest. How relevant is that? Tithing, next we have tithing, and what a time to trust God and for him to prove who he says he is. We're uncertain in our uncertainty. We're uncertain of if we're going to have a job next week or what next week will even look like, but we're certain of God. And so I encourage you guys to just keep giving, and that's where our faith is really going to grow. So there's a few ways to do that. Check the screen for those ways. Next, connecting. We do not want you guys to be alone in this time. Find ways to connect with each other virtually. Find walkie-talkies with your neighbors and talk to them across the street. Maybe throw the football. I know me and my friends are going to be doing a happy hour over Zoom next week. So you don't have to do this alone. Invite someone to watch with us. Watch our church service with us. Pastor Drew has an amazing message, so I challenge you guys to tune in, sit down, grab your coffee, your blanket, and listen in.
All right, Aloha on three. 1, 2, 3. Good morning, Aloha Church. Man, welcome to my living room, coming to you live and direct from Claremont, which I can see Mission Bay High School from my living room, which is kind of a cool thing as I'm looking out and praying for everybody. We've had a chance to walk around our neighborhood the past few weeks, probably like you guys, and we walked around so many times. We start to see things in our neighbors' houses that we've never seen before. We're able to stop and smell the roses, pick a few roses, and I've noticed we have pretty good landscapers in our town. We love avocados. My daughter has been making some mean guacamole, so we plan to get that to you guys pretty soon. But if you've been traveling with us and in our community, we're in the book of Philippians. And I know I've been saying we're in the book of Philippians for like a month now, but hey, we're not going anywhere. We're not in a rush. We want to slow down and smell the roses and eat the guacamole that Paul's putting down in the form of joy. We were talking about joy in the book of Philippians, and Paul was talking about the good news in the book of Philippians. If you know anything about Paul in the book of Philippians, he has a special connection. He's in house arrest, and he's writing to Lydia, who's been running this church in Philippi. Lydia sold purple. She's a bit of a fashionista. And I kind of feel a little bit like Paul because I'm kind of under house arrest, and my wife's a bit of a fashionista, right? So Paul is going to take us through Philippians chapter 2, all about Jesus' humility and how that's significant in your life. So for the next 15 minutes, I pray that you stay with me as we look at Philippians chapter 2. I'm going to pray that the Holy Spirit would encourage you in this time, and he would challenge you to look at the significance of humility and how we can be encouraged. We're going to be in Philippians chapter 2, and I'm going to read out the Message version. You may not have the Message version, so we're going to put it up here on the screen to make it more easy for you. Okay, so Philippians chapter 2, verse 1 says this. If you have gotten anything at all out of following Christ, if his love has been made any difference in your life, If being in a community of the Spirit means anything to you, if you have a heart, if you care, then do me a favor. Agree with each other, love each other, be deep-spirited friends. Don't push your way to the front. Don't sweet talk your way to the top. Put yourself aside and help others get ahead. Don't be obsessed with getting your own advantage. Forget yourselves long enough to lend a helping hand. Here's what Paul is saying. Guys, if you've been paying attention at all, if you understand what a true church really is, gathering together to know God and to experience God, it's both. We're not gathering together to take Bible tests. It doesn't really matter if you memorize all these verses if you're not loving God and loving each other, putting other people ahead of yourself. It sounds like their culture was similar to our culture. Why? Because human nature is selfish. We want to put ourselves first. We want to take and hoard and gather everything for ourselves for whatever reasons. And that's what Paul is saying. He's speaking to the same kind of culture. If you're a parent, you know, you don't got to teach your kids to be selfish or irritating or talk all the time when you're trying to sleep or anything. They are just selfish, and we're selfish. You know, sometimes when we get adults, we don't really grow out of being selfish. And that's what Paul is saying. And then he goes on to share the good news. Remember, Paul is always talking about joy, but Paul has this obsession with sharing good news. And that's the best kind of news this world has to offer, right? Especially in a time when we have all this fearful news and news that's not so uplifting or encouraging. Paul's going to share some good news. And I want you to pay attention to Philippians chapter 2, verse 5 through 8 in the Message version. It says this: Think of yourselves the way Jesus Christ thought of himself. He had equal status with God, but didn't think so much of himself that he had to cling to the advantages of the status no matter what. Not at all. When the time came, he set aside the privileges of deity and took on the status of a slave, became human. Having become human, he stayed human. It was an incredibly humbling process. He didn't claim special privileges. Instead, he lived a selfless, obedient life and then died a selfless, obedient death, and the worst kind of death, and that, a crucifixion. In that second part of Philippians, what Paul is going to really unpack is the nitty-gritty of the incarnation. Incarnation is a theological word. It's not in the Bible, but it comes from us from a Latin word, incaro, which really means God in the flesh. And Jesus became the God-man. He was 100% God and 100% man. He wasn't 50% God and 50% man. He wasn't even 51-50, because that'd be crazy. And some people think he was a lunatic, but he's Lord. And last week we said Jesus Christ was the same yesterday, today, and forever. He is Jesus, and he still is Jesus, sit at the right hand of the Father. So 5 descriptions of Jesus humbling himself. Number 1, the Bible says he came to us with no reputation. He didn't come down from God like a demigod, like Thor, waving a hammer and said, "Worship me, I'm a god, I have long flowing hair." He came to us looking like an ordinary dude and walking around. He had ordinary parents. Matter of fact, the method God sent him through was the virgin birth. He had ordinary parents, and he was a little boy, and he had to submit himself to parents, and he had a father. But he also said in Mark and John, "I am the Father, and the Father is in me," saying he is the Father. He is the visible image of an invisible God. And he came to us with no reputation. Number 2, Jesus came to us in the form of a servant. He walked around enough. He able to empty himself out. As if coming to us was a human wasn't enough, Jesus called himself a slave to us. And he said, "I have not come to be served. I have come to serve." And do you know what Jesus did? He washed the disciples' feet. What God washes feet? Most gods of any other religion are far off, and we have to work to attain their favor and maintain a certain status. But Jesus became a servant, and he washed our feet, demonstrating that he came to serve us. Number 3, Jesus came in the likeness of man, and he was human. He felt everything that we feel. He felt compassion. He felt love. He was hungry. He even slept. And I like Jesus because he's always clowning on people, right? He's always like clowning on dudes and like asking them funny questions. Totally Jesus. And I want to be more like Jesus, so I start clowning on you. If I clown on you, it means I love you. I'm just trying to be like Jesus, really. Number 4, He was obedient to death. Jesus willingly and voluntarily died. That was his mission. We learned that Jesus' mission was to come and die. He didn't come to make more disciples or to start church services. He came to die. And the Acts says, there is salvation found in no other name but the name of Jesus Christ. No other name is salvation found, because Jesus' death was like no one else in history, which is our fifth way that Jesus humbled himself. Paul says he humbled himself to the point of death, even death on a cross. And a cross was the most humiliating way for someone to be killed. Lots of people died on crosses, but none of them were innocent. Jesus was innocent, and he was sinless, and he was perfect, and he went willingly because he loves us. And that's how Jesus humbled himself. And Paul is saying, hey, if you want to be like Jesus, humble yourself. Think of others more important than yourself. Someone explained it like this to me. If pride is like a mirror that we see ourselves in, humility is like a window where we see others. And that's our goal. And I want to break it down even a little bit further. All right, let's keep reading. And I said we're going to walk around the block and stop and smell the roses. Now I want you to pay attention to what Paul's going to really say in chapter 2, verse 6. He says this, though he was God, so though Jesus was God, he did not think of equality with God as something to cling to. I want you to say cling to. Cling to. Really good. We've been watching a whole lot of movies around here in our house, and I'm kind of a Star Wars guy, but if you grew up and you're a Trekkie, you know what a Klingon is. Weird faces, known for their brute strength, totally shellfish. If I was going to title today's message, it would be Don't Be a Klingon. Because Jesus didn't cling to anything. He didn't even cling to his status as God. He became a servant. And in this kind of a different age, we are tempted to cling on to some of the idols in our life. We cling on to health and fitness and wealth and beauty. And it's interesting that the whole world, no matter where you live, we're in this similar boat. Rich, poor, whatever color your skin is, wherever you live in the world, we have a tendency to cling on to some certain things that give us identity and bring us value. And if you're taking notes, I want you to write this down. Jesus said to cling on to faith and hope, not the things that we can see. And in a time like this is a great time for believers to kind of stand out. Because believers, we don't cling on and we don't grab onto the things that we can see, as many people are doing. And they're panicking because they're seeing the things that they put so much stock and effort in kind of disappear. And it's really exposing our idols. And that's a challenge for us. What are some of the things that you're being exposed to that you have a tendency to hang on to? Is it your health? Is it your wealth? Is it a security? Or is it your schedules? And I've been noticing that I've kind of been just this slave to my schedule and to my routine and to my standard of living and putting my hope in even the gathering possibly of a church. And like, when are we going to be able to gather back as a church? When can I see you guys? When can we eat Spam? And I'll be honest, I cling on to Spam. That might be okay. But number 2, if you're taking notes, write this down. Okay, number 2, write this down. Jesus wants us to cling on to good news. Joy and good news. That's it. Because in this time, we have an opportunity to share the good news. Most people have a tendency to want to hear bad news. And let's face it. Everything on the internet, on social media, there's tons of bad news. And bad news creates fear. And we have a tendency to want to do those things. But we have an opportunity and a small opportunity to share the good news. And here's why. There's a small window of time. Because sooner or later, it's all going to go back to normal. It's going to be even faster than before. And people are preferred schedules. All these idols that we've been clinging onto or that are exposed are going to be right there on the shelf for us to grab. Health, wealth, fitness, going back to schools. Matter of fact, I can't wait for my kids to go back to school, to be honest, but I have a small opportunity now to share the good news with my kids and with my neighbors. And as I walk around the community and stop and smell the roses, we can stop and talk to people. And people are more open than ever before to talk about the future, to talk about being scared, because we're all in the same boat. We used to take like 5 minutes. Hey, how's it going? How's work? How's surf? How's the gym? Blah, 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 blah. How's all that? We get straight to the point and like, what do you need? What can I pray for? And as you guys know, Amazon delivers next day delivery. Some of you guys have been praying for these conversations to have with your friends or family members, or maybe some kids that have gone astray. Amazon just delivered to us the future, and that is today. So it's not, don't send them this link or anything like that. You talk to them because they trust you. God's calling you to be the delivery person of the good news. Let me end with this, and I'll be truthful. The biggest crisis in the world right now is not this virus. The biggest crisis in the world right now is not economical. You know what the biggest crisis is? It's not even on world news. It's a spiritual crisis. It's a lack of a relationship with Jesus. That's our biggest crisis. Because if that's not there, none of this stuff matters. We can have long, long lines trying to get toilet paper at Costco, but there are long lines of people without a relationship with Jesus. And they're a long line, and you know who they are. In this moment, I challenge you to reach out to those people. Have good, honest conversations with people. And if you need prayer, man, we want to help. Please DM us, email us. Let us know how we can pray for you. As your pastor, I miss you and I love you. And I can't wait to hold on to you guys and love you guys and drink coffee and gather together. But that might be a little bit further than I want. But I love you guys, I miss you, and I'm praying for you. Aloha.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to Aloha Church Online. My name is Trish Tevis, and you have been watching Pastor Drew talk about joy. He actually just gave me this rose because he is very sweet. And we've been having some unexpected moments of sweetness in the Tevis household. We've been having to get creative with our 4 kids and being on lockdown now. So, like last night, we invited them to dress up in formal wear, and we sat down to a formal dinner, and we had 3 courses, and we asked them to talk in British accents, and it was really, really funny and hilarious. So if you need ideas, DM me or text me. But honestly, you guys, stay connected. We love seeing your faces on social media. We love hearing your stories of good things that are happening. Keep up with that. Also, pick up the phone. I'm going to guess that the people who are struggling the most are our young single guys who live alone, because guys don't reach out that much. So pick up the phone, talk to a young single guy, especially if you're a young single girl. Hey! But definitely stay connected. It's such a good time to hear one another's voices. We love seeing the care packages. There have been care packages dropped off. There's been flowers being delivered. There's been toilet paper rolls left at people's doorsteps, because what better way to say I love you than with a toilet paper roll, right? Who would have thought? What world are we living in right now? So invite somebody to watch next Sunday. Please stay connected with us at Aloha Church Online, on our Instagram, My Aloha Church, to our website, myalohachurch.com. We will be here. We'll be here all week and next week. Invite somebody into this conversation. And you know what? We really, 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 really love you guys, and we miss you. Aloha.